getting in the way? This isn't about the movie. This is a personal question the brother's asking. All right.
I would say
you're good.
Try to dismantle anything that you have an emotional connection to try to control it, to where you can use your emotions as a navigation system. Don't let over emotionalism put you in a state of self-subjugation. So it's one of those things where you got to be operating from a place of balancement. So when you operate in a place of balancement, that way you can decipher and use your critical thinking skills before you put yourself in a state of emotionalism. So it's one of those things you got to have mind over matter. So like I said, everything, we all know that materialism, or, your job and all these things that's connected to the material plane, we have an emotional connection to it. And it's not sustainable. But the only thing that's sustainable is you connecting to things that's not external. You got to go internal. So when certain things, as far as like family members that's pulling you back to where you trying to pull you back and connect you back to your old past, you have to basically divorce yourself from all that energy as well.
Right.
Because like I said, it's not going to put you in a state of evolution.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, graphic arts, and I'm glad BDELL answered that. I know a lot of people are going through that, have gone through that, and will go through that. It's a real life scenario that gets played out probably in every single one of our lives. So, yeah, family. All right, somebody says, the movie warned you your biased perspective frames what you believe. What you believe may not be the truth. Discernment is not bias. What's your thoughts on this, BDELL?
Well, I mean, it's also being facilitated by something that they know that the great majority of the public is acclimated to, where if they believe in the political system, or if they believe in the economical system. But like I said, everything has a process of limited, expectations. Nothing in this world is, as far as like the three-dimensional matrix system or whatever, there's nothing sustainable behind it. Nothing is sustainable. Everything has an expiration date.
Indeed.
So your belief, it really doesn't matter.
Any geographical areas where chosen ones should start migrating to? I think they might have asked you this before, BDELL, in another show.
Man, I think Atlanta, that seemed like that's where the great majority of people have been relocating to. But as I was telling, someone before, because you got a lot of people, as far as like your chosen ones, we are scattered all over the planet. And right. I think that's done, on purpose, from higher forces or whatever. And that's why sometimes it's kind of hard that's why you might be the only one in your city who thinks the way that you think, and you might get castigated for it or whatever. Or some people look at you at a supreme level, but you in that geographical landmass for a reason. That's because you're in that station point to raise up the vibrational frequency as the planet is going through a process of unity consciousness. So over time, when you have things like in the movie, when the planet was in a state of destabilization or whatever, eventually, everybody has to come together in order to maintain self-preservation.
Rod Hayes talked about a lot of the chiefs, or he used another word, but a lot of the real strong spirits decided to incarnate in this particular region that we call America. My question to you is, why do you think a lot of souls, why did the souls choose America to come down to get shit popping? Everybody knows the USA is like on everybody's mind, whether you hate it or love it.
I really believe that, this is not to, castigate other demographics and races or whatever, but I really believe that this geographical landmass is actually the Holy Land. So like it's just based on logic. Like where's your African Michael Jordan? Where's your African Michael Jackson? Where's your African, we got all these great figures and everything that come from this geographical landmass. Some of your best thinkers on the planet come from this geographical landmass when you're talking about America. And I don't think that's done by accident. And then when you look at, monolithic structures, you have 2,000 pyramids in the Americas versus the ones over in Africa and the Middle East. They only have like 250.
Mm-hmm.
So I really believe it's one of those things where this geographical area is one of those things is supposed to be the inception point in order to raise up the vibrational frequency of the planet when you're talking about this unity consciousness.
Right.
That's why, you know, I see other people, you know, in Africa, most of the people in Africa and in different countries, a lot of them, you know, even though they were, you know, the great majority of that geographical area was colonized, you see a lot of them are Christians. You know what I'm saying? And then when I talk to one of them, they don't even understand what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where I think this land is actually the real holy land of the real chosen people. And it starts with us first in order to get this whole great awakening popping.
BDELL, somebody asked, I can't find the chat moving so fast, but they asked about the financial system. Are you a fan of cryptocurrency? Should people be saving their dollars and their coins, or should they migrate over to cryptocurrency? What's your thoughts about the financial system?
Well, I really don't get into the crypto stuff or whatever, but you know, by any means, for anybody who's connected to that energy, get your coins. But I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket because it's like in a movie. The guy, I think he was like an investor on Wall Street or whatever, and he said that the whole system in itself, as far as like this corporate system, it operates on curves, and he was said that he knew something was going to take place before it actually happened. So when you're talking about this whole crypto control system, the financial system in itself, it doesn't really have no type of sustainability to it. So that's why in the movie, in order for the young boy to get the medicine, they had to give the man cash, because liquid cash in itself still has a little power, even if you had the grid system goes down. So it's important to have, you know, if you got money in the bank, do that if that's your thing, but keep some liquid cash because it still has energy to it. Because you might have to barter with it when the grid goes down. Who knows?
All right. We have been taught since 2020 not to react to the system. Here we are reacting to Hollywood predictive programming. What happened to intuition? Is this real life?
I mean, well, I'm not sure if you was listening in the beginning of the show, but it's one of those things where, you know, you got to look at the movies with a metaphysical eye, because I told you the CIA has an office in Hollywood and Hollywood has an office in the CIA. So a lot of stuff that's taking place in these movies is actually happening in real time. Because, you know, they showed you in Contagion in a movie, and then the Draconian juice came out in 2020, and then people was like, oh, they got mad because the world was locked down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the same thing is actually going to be taking place. It's a precursor to it, because they said in the World Economic Forum said that we're going to have a cyber attack in 2 years. You're going to have a blackout. And that was back in 2021. So like I said, and then we're going and we're segueing into solar cycle 25. So a lot of stuff that can be taking place.
Yeah, I would say to this individual, when we both look at the same thing, we see different things. We may be looking at the same thing, but we may be seeing and interpreting and perceiving something different. I was actually inspired by a lot of things in this movie, and me and you have a different soul and a different spirit. So maybe you didn't get inspired at all. But if I'm inspired by something, it's a good thing for me. It's a good thing for my soul. It's a good thing for my spirit. But I just think differently from you. So we're all not going to see the same thing. You may look at me and think I look a certain way. Another female may look at me and think something completely different. So, you know, it's all about perception, and that's obviously your perception, and more power to you. But here we are discussing our perception. All right. All right, here goes Kwame Sunhorse wants to know Watson Break. Oh no, I guess it's just a Watson Break is an archaeological site in present day Ouachita Parish, Louisiana, from the archaic period dated to about 5,400 years ago. All right, so that's just a statement. That's not a question. All right, let's get to another. Does the blue room in the beginning have any significance? Her dress also.
Deep state. Deep state shadow government. Because remember in the movie, that was basically showing credence to the Blue House. And the Blue House, like I said, is based on the embodiment when you understand the Freemasonic order of the Scottish Rite or the York Rite. So it was showing you credence of the deep state. The deep state is the shadow government, and the shadow government is democracy. And democracy is being controlled by Canaanites. Those are the ones you're talking about, the cursed seed under Levitical law, when you're talking about the biblical context and things of that nature. So that's what it's basically showing credence to. So the blue room is actually showing credence to this. I think it was in Maui. Remember in Hawaii, they had all those blue roofs, and all the blue roofs, the houses didn't get touched.
Yeah.
Like I said, so that's how you know a lot of these psychological operations is being implemented by the deep state. This is your shadow government. Because like I tell people all the time, the best, it's very simplistic on how you can decipher if the deep state is actually a de facto corporation. You in third grade, first grade, when we say the Pledge of Allegiance, it says to the republic. It did not say to the democracy. That's that's the diametrical difference. There's no such thing as democracy.
Okay, next question, BDELL. What did the picture changing in the living room represent? The black and white picture.
I don't remember that part.
All right, let's get to another one. Somebody said, "Did you see the alien eyes in the bushes?" Y'all spying a lot.
Yeah, I seen that, but I wouldn't. I don't know if it was like insinuating on the fact that we're going to have, some type of galactical beings coming, from a different star system and visiting us or whatever during that time period. So, I mean, it kind of the Cosmic Slot movie shows you that when the planet was like in chaos, and then you had these beings that came down and took all the so-called blacks away.
Indeed. Yeah, we're about to wrap it up, BDELL. I got KT in the background.
Okay.
We just wrapped up the hour. Anything you want to leave the people with as we close out, BDELL, in terms of this movie and in terms of moving forward in this dimension, my brother?
Don't get so caught up into consciousness and spirituality to the point where you're not able to decipher something real from something being as far as a psychological operation. Sometimes you need to look at certain movies. Sometimes you need to read certain publications. Sometimes you got to give your energy to something and use it as an alchemical resource in order to reap the benefits of true reality, to see the true light. So like I said, this movie, it might be fear-mongering to you, but it might be edification for the next person. So like I said, just use your spiritual eye and look at these movies with a metaphysical eye to decipher what's going to be taking place. I wouldn't, like I said, just don't be. I'm not saying be scared and things of that nature, but at the same time, just be critical and use your logical skills in order to decipher what's really going on.
Indeed. What's your how can they reach out to you, brother, and hear more of your material?
Okay, you can go to my YouTube channel at BDELL1014. BDELL1014. That's my nomenclature title on Instagram. Also, I'm Bridell Rice Bay on Facebook as well.
Indeed. All right, my brother. I appreciate it. Coming on, dropping it as always, my brother.
It's coming down from the fourth dimension. So when you have these UFOs in our atmosphere, they're basically terraforming the atmosphere to the point where it can basically dematerialize everything that's in the magnetic field. So this is where the open vortex comes in, right? That fourth dimensional energy comes in. So with the UFOs that we see in our atmosphere, what it does is it manipulates the magnetic field and the electrical grid. So this is why you had that plane that dropped down in Alabama yesterday.
Right.
That's how you have a diametrical difference from a real UFO and a UFO that's being galvanized and facilitated by the aristocracy. So a real UFO has the ability to manipulate the electromagnetic grid, right? UFOs are shooting down, that's all being facilitated by the government. So that's how you know the thing that's manipulating the matrix system, that is a real UFO. So that's why I tell people it's very imperative for them to stay off these airplanes You know, if you want to go somewhere as far as like, you know, on a trip or whatever, it's imperative that you travel, you know, through car, because you don't want to, you know, when the grid shuts down, because the grid is basically acclimated to all technological devices on the planet. So when the grid shuts down, everything shuts down as far as your molecular structure. And also that also applies to nanogenetic mind control when you're talking about these genetically modified foods, when they put these technologies inside of our body. So that's all connected to the grid system. So that's why they, you know, during this time when they know that the sun is at solar maximum, when you're talking about the open vortex, that fourth dimensional energy coming in, what it does is it has the ability to cause a reconfiguration in your mental capacity and in your genetical sequence.
Tell the people what exactly happened with the sun. It was in the beginning of February. Something happened, a piece of the sun. What exactly happened, BDELL?
So what that is basically colossal coronal mass ejections. So the reason we having this these concepts of war and things of that nature with China, when you're talking about the spy balloon, they want you. They're trying to perpetuate an EMP attack when really everything is galvanized by CME. So an EMP is really basically the same thing, but it's based on the technological level, because the third eye for the beast is technology. So what they do is they know that when you have an activation of the sun, it has the ability to cause pestilence. It can cause, you know, a malfunction in the in the governmental systems, because everything they do is based on astrological alignments. So that's what I'm saying. As far as like the seismic activity and things in the nature, the cymatic frequencies of the coronal mass ejections is manipulating everything on planet Earth right now. So that's what's going on. So when you're talking about these the UV radiation like spectrum, when it speeds up in vibration, it basically breaks down everything that's connected to the material world.
But they said a vortex opened up with this on the sun. What's that about? That's
the vortex. That is basically the inception point of the purification period of when the fourth dimensional energy is going to be coming in, because we were talking about the plutonium energy on the last time we was talking
last
about.
show.
Because that plutonium energy is coming in. So when you have Pluto in Aquarius during after the spring equinox, that is basically the inception point, that vortex to open up on the sun. That's the inception point of when that energy is going to be coming in. That's the gamma radiation that's basically going to put the planet in a state of desolation, because in order to get revitalization, the planet has to go through a state of calamity first.
What does this gamma radiation do to our bodies, our minds, our souls? If it's doing that to the planet, what is it doing to our bodies at this time?
Well, through the law of correspondence, we are a microcosm of the macrocosm. So what it does is it activates the prominences of the etherium realm, right? So it activates the 7 neurological circuits within the brain. So what happens is with the sun, it activates I forgot what sun heat genes, and the sun heat genes basically causes these granulations, because we're basically amalgamated that's connected to everything on the planet through atomic fusion, because carbon is the building block of all civilization. So as the planet is going through a terraforming process, we're going to terraform with the planet also, because we're made of carbon.
Indeed.
So that's basically the same thing as far as like your genetical sequence is being manipulated, just like planet Earth is being manipulated. It has to go through a revitalization process. So if your vibration is not matching with the planet, it can be detrimental for you.
So depending on where your vibration is, you could be experiencing different symptoms.
Yes. So that's why, you know, they trying to create this this anomaly that we have in train derailments. All this is all acclimated to a form of pestilence, because they want to engineer a new form of a shutdown. They want to shut down everything, talking about everybody is getting sick, because that's why they got these toxic wastes and everything. 3 is really based on and galvanized by the war with the mind. So when you have a war with the mind, because they know that the fourth dimensional energy is coming in, and that's the mental plane, which is the ethereal plane, which is the God frequency that activates the God body, right? When we were talking about the Holy Ghost particles. And the reason they do that is because they know that God is the highest extension of the mind, which uses elements of matter to express yourself. So when you're able to express yourself mentally, you're able to manipulate the vibration on the planet. So that's what that's basically what's going on right now, because it's basically a war with the mind.
What's happening on the planet right now with this fourth dimensional energy coming through? Is this something that happens frequently, or is this something that hasn't happened in a long time on the planet? What we're witnessing right now?
Well, the planet went through many different destructional phases. So what's happening right now, you have when I'm talking about this open vortex, you had the Philadelphia experiment that happened in 1943. That's when these naval intelligence officers they basically made a naval ship dematerialize in the atmosphere, and it jumped it all the way up to 40 years ahead of time in 1983 in Montauk, New York, when you're talking about the Montauk Project. So with that experiment in itself, it basically manipulated the fragment of time, and it threw off the planet by 3 years, because from 1940 to 50 and 60 and so on and so forth, you had these fourth dimensional portals that opened up naturally on the planet. So now the fragment of time that has been manipulated. So it goes from 1943 to 53 all the way up into 2023 now. So that's why the Galactic Federation, they gave the plutocracy and the oligarchs, they gave them the technology to build CERN, because CERN was originally made to put the planet right back in balance. So, but they use it for devilishment when they open up these portals, so they can have archonic energy come to the planet to basically have some type of self-preservation in the three-dimensional paradigm, because they want the matrix system to keep going.
So let me ask you this, BDELL. If the Galactic Federation gave them the technology of CERN, we all know who this devil is that we deal with on a consistent basis in this realm. You mean to tell me they didn't know that they was going to get tricked by these folks, that the parasitic elite? They really thought the devil was going to use CERN for the better of humanity?